You know, the challenge is you got to rebuild with a lot of new players who will be younger, have new roles, less experience, and how do they respond, you know, to these new roles. And I've been pleased so far with the way our players have embraced the new roles, the new responsibilities. We're going to be a work in progress, and that's going to be critical to our success.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Nick Saban Show, brought to you by Truckworks. I'm Chris Stewart. Coach, great to see you. Familiar setting. We're going to have to get a larger coffee table though, because you've added to the ring collection. I'm not sure it's going to hold many more, but that's history now as you get ready for another year.
Well, but that's the focus, you know. I mean, what you've done in the past doesn't necessarily have any impact on what you're going to be able to accomplish in the future. So, and I think sometimes, you know, players need to understand that last year was a great year. Kids did a great job on the team. We had great team leadership, and everybody kind of bought into doing the things they needed to do. But sometimes when you have success, you know, people tend to forget, why did we have success? And you know, so that's a real key for this team, to be able to show that they have the resiliency to, you know, continue to do the things they need to do to be successful.
Potential distractions out there, COVID Part 2, NIL, all of those things you dealt with prior to the start of camp. But from a football standpoint, where are we? How are things looking?
Well, we're making progress. I think, you know, the challenge is, you know, players tend to get a little overwhelmed when you're in camp. The thing that adds to that this year is we didn't really have camp last year. So we probably have 2/3 of our team that's never really been through a camp. So when I say get overwhelmed, I mean it's the most condensed time, the most practices you have in the most condensed period. So it's more difficult, you know, for the players. And in terms of injuries, in terms of being able to overcome adversity. So the thing that keeps you from getting overwhelmed is you have a great sense of purpose. It helps you build resiliency to make choices and decisions to fight your way through. So the biggest part of that's behind us now. Now we're more into, you know, starting to get ready for games. And I think the players get tired of hitting each other. So I think they're looking forward to that.
And we're looking forward to seeing some of those players right now as we get into some of the highlights from fall camp so far.
Baby Jack's team ready! Baby Jack's team ready! Extra! Wait.
Time to go to work.
You got on camera!
The Nick Saban Show is brought to you by the University of Alabama, where legends are made, and by Coca-Cola. Together tastes better.
Welcome Welcome back to the Nick Saban Show, brought to you by TruckWorks. Coach, how do you keep your message consistent over the years, but also keep it fresh year in and year out?
Well, I think that you try to get more and more ways to figure out how players hear what amounts to be the same thing. Because what it takes to be successful really doesn't change. You know, you have to have a goal, you got to have the right mindsets, you got to, understand what it takes process-wise to be able to accomplish the goal, and then you got to have the discipline to execute it every day. So whether we have A-Rod come in here and talk about that, he eventually gets to the same thing. And there's always something a little added to it. Like in his case, he talked about 10 touches, how important it is to have a great relationship with people on your team and how that carries over in the business world, as well. So there's all these lessons. Ernie Johnson, sort of said it this way in terms of positive energy, positive attitude. Do I got to do this or do I get to do this? And when you think about some of those things, they're really positive ways of, trying to get people to stay focused on doing the things, making the choices that they need to make, rather than giving in to the feelings that they have. I don't feel like this, but choosing to do this. And so I think a lot of people impact players a lot of different ways. But I think when they hear those messages from other people who have been successful, that's very helpful.
University of Alabama, not only a place where legends are made, it's also a place where legends come to visit.
To be here to spend some time with y'all. Alex Rodriguez.
I'm here to share some of the experience that I've had in a lot of my experiences, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We won the World Championship in '09, and I'm going to talk about why we didn't win in 2010. Great players, great teams are always anticipating what's next and putting yourself in a position to win. Positioning in football, in business, in parenting, in everything is everything. You guys have a ginormous target on you. 2009, we won the World Championship. 2010, I thought we were going to repeat. We were a little comfortable. We couldn't control the disease of me, the ego. 2009, everybody checked their ego at the door. Everyone showed up on time, enthused, hungry, humble, ready, gritty. 2010, we weren't paying attention anymore. The small things did not mean as much. We were not obsessed, and we were no longer predators. We were the prey. Because it is so easy to get complacent. It is so easy to get cynical. Either you want to be an Instagram star or you want to be a real star. And stars look like Jerry Rice, they look like Ray Lewis, they look like Derek Jeter, maniacal about the process.
When I first broke my leg and I was laying on the field, I was like, oh, well, the doctors will put me back together. I'll be ready. I knew the season was over. We were kind of past the halfway point. But I was thinking about spring ball. You hear about broken bones all the time. I'm like 6 to 8 weeks, I'll be back. Obviously, when the infection set in and it got really crazy and they're talking about cutting off my leg to save my life, it flips, right? I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about my wife. Are we ever going to be able to go do the things that we've always done together? And I felt like that all got taken away from me. And I really felt like in that moment, the best of my life was behind me. And what got me through that experience and ultimately back out onto the field were a lot of the lessons that I learned the hard way in my career. Lessons about dealing with expectations, the pressure to perform, about dealing with anxiety and self-doubt. The stuff that every athlete deals with, whether they admit it or not. I'm proud that I made it back out on the field, but I'm really more proud of what got me there. Not the physical journey, but the mental one. I learned that so much of the anxiety that holds us back in life, it's self-inflicted. We make it worse on ourselves.
When Nick Saban asks if you would come and speak to his football team, yes and no, not the answers. What time is the answer? And what I've had at Turner, I've been there for 32 years now. What I've got is a get-to job, not a got-to job. I get to do that. when you look across a room or you lock eyes with a teammate and you're wearing the same colors, that you get to. That's not a got to. See, the reason our show is successful is because nobody tries to make it about themselves. Chuck's never tried to do that. Shaq's never tried to do that. Neither has Kenny. And God knows I'm not trying to. Nobody cares what I think about a basketball game. I'm just trying to get us from point A to point B to point C, and I'm trying to make these guys shine. It's about knowing your role. So what is your role? There's value in everybody. Everybody on our team at Turner, value in every position.
Which team do you want to be this year? Most people are thinking that you're not as hungry. Most people are going to expect you to come out flat. Outside of Alabama, everybody hopes you come out flat. You know, Coach likes to say not everybody can be a Yankee. Not everybody can play here. Time, feeling, and focus. You got to put in the time, you got to give it, and you got to focus. Time, feeling, focus. The more responsible you are, the more power you have. Thank you very much.
The Nick Saban Show is brought to you by Tiffin Motorhomes, made to move you. And by Coca-Cola, together tastes better.
Coach, NFL Draft Day always special, and it's big for Alabama fans because they always get a chance to hear a lot of Crimson Tide players have their name called.
Well, and it's certainly great for our players. You know, I mean, it's the goal of a lot of the players that they want to have the opportunity to play in the league someday. That's kind of their dream growing up as football players. And, you know, even though we try to emphasize to them here, we want them to develop so they can be successful personally, academically, and athletically. We also know this is a big part of it for them. And it's always great, very positive for us as an organization, for me personally, to see how many players that we have in the league and the players on our team last year that did a marvelous job for the University of Alabama, see their dreams sort of come to fruition and have the opportunity to play at the next level. But as I always say to players, it's not where you get drafted, it's what you do with the opportunity that you have. And I think our players have done a really good job of that as well.
Did very well, Coach, and that's why so many of them had their names called on draft night.
Back here again. Fury on the track with no intro, let's just begin. Changing up my shoes on the temperature.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, Alabama.
We're going to do our best to, try to make plays, and hopefully we can make it happen. I'm trying to be a part of something special.
The Denver Broncos select Pat Surtain, Jr., defensive back, Alabama.
Man, it's a special feeling, man. I can't wait to get to Denver and, compete and ball out.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
Coming day in, day out of Alabama, going against guys like Pat, just making me better every day, me making him better. I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm excited.
The six-time world champion New England Patriots select Mac Jones.
Watch out for that beam, that light gon'
I've got a chance to play under some legendary coaches, even in high school, and like you said, with Coach Saban. So I'm looking forward to taking Coach Belichick's coaching. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The Las Vegas Raiders select Alex Leatherwood, tackle, Alabama. The Pittsburgh Steelers select Najee Harris, running back, Alabama.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Landon Dickerson.
Hey, look, I'm excited to get up there. Just let me know. I told him I can start driving now. I'll be there in a little while.
The New England Patriots select Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, Alabama.
And New England's going Bama.
There you go. Well, Philadelphia went Alabama too.
Are you allowed to draft players outside of Alabama?
6 first-rounders, man. Just another day at the office for the Bama boys. NFL U, everything you.
Oh, yeah.
The Nick Saban Show is brought to you by the University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Coach, it's not uncommon to have turnover, change on anybody's staff. You got a new offensive coordinator, familiar face though on the defensive side.
Yeah, well, defensively, we have only one new coach, and Pete now has been here for several years and really understands the system. And I think there's two things, understanding the system, implementing the system in the game. And Pete's gotten really, really good at that. I think we improved a lot on defense last year, and hopefully we'll continue to do that this year because we have, I think, 8 starters back and some more experienced players than we had a year ago. Offensively, 4 out of 5 coaches on offense were replaced. Bill O'Brien has done a really, really good job. He's very well organized, does a good job of teaching the players, does a good job in presentation. But the challenge has been, you usually lose a coach or 2, you still have 3 or 4 left in the room that have been there in the past. Well, we only had 1. All right, so it was a little more difficult work in progress to get sort of everybody questions answered as to exactly how we would implement some of the things that we've done in the past. And of course, we want new energy and new ideas from, all of our new coaches so that we can make improvements in the system. But I think it's coming together nicely.
Let's introduce and reintroduce the Bama fans to the staff as we go Mercedes-Benz All Access.
I think it will be the most depth, that we've had. We got to continue to develop that. But that daily focus and that mindset of proper preparation prevents poor performance. And, I'm going to get out what I put in. And I think that's the biggest thing right now, because coming off of last year, the kids did a great job. I thought they got better, but it's over. We got to move on. We got enough talent, but we got to put the work in. That's one thing about this place to me and Coach Saban. You look at all those great teams, right? Yes, they've got talent, but that ingredient every year is hard work. We're going to outwork everybody else. And whether that's from the player standpoint and the preparation aspect of studying the playbook, watching the tape, right? Practicing my butt off, staying after, right, to work on a certain technique, right? So, again, I think, it's no different this year than it's been any year.
Whether it's the returning players or, some of the guys that were backup players last year or the incoming freshmen, these guys work really hard. It's been really a joy to coach these guys through the winter conditioning program and spring practice and now into training camp. Just really excited about today's meetings, tomorrow's practice, and just taking it one day at a time and trying to do the best we can to do our part offensively to have a really good football team here at the University of Alabama.
The Nick Saban Show is brought to you by Aflac. Get to know us at aflac.com.
Back for our final segment this week on the Nick Saban Show, brought to you by Truck Works. And Coach, this is where during the regular season we say what's next, and in this show it works as well because what's next is the opener against Miami.
Right, and I think this will be a challenging game for our team. We've got a lot of new faces, a lot of good players, but a lot of players who don't have a lot of experience, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And Miami has a really, really good team returning. They've got a lot of starters, I think like 8 on defense and 9 or 10 on offense. And the quarterback who was hurt in the bowl game but should be back for this game is a very talented guy. So there's a lot of challenges for us in this game. But what I always tell the players, it's really about what we do. It's really how we prepare. It's do we have the resiliency, the ability to overcome adversity? Every game, is going to provide challenges. So can you overcome those, play the next play, continue to execute like we need to play for 60 minutes in the game? So I'm more anxious about how our team's going to respond to the first challenge of the season, which is a very good opponent for us, which is good. That always sort of motivates you in the off season, and players have something to look forward to in playing a really good team the first game.
Always appreciate your time, Coach. We appreciate you joining us as well, and we'll see you next time right here on the Nick Saban Show.
The Nick Saban Show is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Together tastes better. By the University of Alabama, where legends are made. And by Trustmark. People you trust, advice that works.